All I think about these days, all I think about these days is getting at that goal that's in my heart. I need a reason to believe, yeah, maybe a cure for my disease.
That song is by Blaine Long. My name is Matthew Blades. Meet my friends.
Hi, it's Tim.
And Beth from the Mulhausen Group Real Estate.
We are so proud to sponsor another episode of Learn from People Who Lived It. You can catch us at tmgphoenix.com.
That's a good group of people right there. Hi, it's Matthew Blades, host of Learn from People Who Lived It. And a reminder before we get into today's show that each of these episodes is presented uninterrupted with the support of the Mulhausen Group, with the support of ASI or Advanced Systems Integrations. They design and install cutting-edge audio and visual equipment. So if you're on the IT staff or you're the IT director, please reach out to ASI. This audio visual integrator has offices in Minnesota and in Scottsdale and 2 decades of experience. And the cool thing about them, they pay real close attention to that last 5%, which is the one that drives you and I crazy. We've got a link to ASI in our show description, or you can go there yourself by visiting asi-av.com.
Welcome to another episode of Learn from People Who Lived It.
Now, we're psyched today because a couple of weeks ago I was in a retreat and I was speaking to a group of people, and as is usual, when I go out and do my speaking these days, there's always a few people that come up right after. Some for very different reasons. Some people to say, holy smokes, what you just said hit me over the head like a 2x4. Other people, like the woman that you're getting ready to hear from, come up and say, I love the work you're doing. It's incredible. And that leads us to cool conversations with people about what they know, what they've seen. And we have a real opportunity today to learn from somebody who lived it.
Oh, first of all, thank you for having me.
Yes.
I really appreciate that. My name is Patricia, and I'm a healer. I help individuals unlock their self-healing.
Because we all, at the end of the day, have to do this for ourselves. What I hope that people will walk away from our conversation is that most of us need help in this space, right? We are not equipped to deal with these things, or if we are, it's just going to be a lot easier and better if we have somebody who's very wise, who's really in tune with these things to help us go through our cycle, if you will. You've used the word shaman before, right? Healer is another great word that you use. Before we get to all the cool stuff, will you tell me why you signed up to do this? Like, what was it inside of you that said, all right, this is what I want to do for people?
I wanted to do it, but it's more, this job picked me. I was called to do it.
I love that.
I was absolutely called to do it. And so it came to me. And I kept saying no and no and no. And then finally, when you go through the whole process, you go through your own journey. And this has been my journey. Why am I here? I need to do it. This is why I'm here. Every person is born for a reason. And this is a reason why I'm born.
Yeah. Do you remember the first set of people that you ever worked with? Do you remember the first couple of exchanges that you ever had with folks as you were new in the space and probably wondering yourself, like, am I good at this? Am I going to be able to help these people? Like, you ask all the natural questions people do. Do you remember that?
Absolutely. Yeah. I remember that. I was with my mentor in France, and I didn't really know what I was doing at the time. And he left me with his patients, and he left the room, and I said, well, where are you going? And he said, you can do it.
Yeah.
You can absolutely do it. You have it in you. And I hated it. At the first, I thought, right. Why are you doing that to me? But it was the beginning of the story of my journey.
So without getting into specifics about why they were there, what were you doing for them? What kinds of things did you learn from your teachers along the way that you started to implement with these folks?
I was helping them, and I'm still helping them, as I said, healing. And just so we understand, there's a big difference between the healing and the curing, right?
Okay.
The curing is in the domain of the doctors, and the curing is an intervention. You remove a tumor, and that's the domain of the doctors. The healing is a journey. I work on the energetic level, if you want. So we have 4 different levels we can work on. We have the physical level, as we talked about. This is the domain of the doctors. You have the mind, and that's the level of psychologists. Okay. You have the soul. That's the domain of the church. Yeah. And then you have the energetic level, and that's where healers come from. And so you go from top to bottom. Healing very often with resolving curing, but curing will never resolve in healing. Because
you need the holistic approach. And I think if we're learning anything in today's world, it's that we need everybody. You need the whole thing to make it work. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And we need to all work together. I'm from France, and very often doctors will send you to a healer. Really? Yes, absolutely. Like your family physician will say, go see a shaman. Absolutely. Go see a healer. Absolutely. And they work with them, and it's totally recognized. Especially in the domain of burning. Yes. A lot of the doctors will ask a healer first to work on the person who's been burned, because they know the healing will work a lot better. The curing will work a lot better if you have a healer working with that person. I dig this because I have come to learn over the years that in Asia, most of the time, you go see a massage therapist or somebody who's going to work on your body before you do anything else. Absolutely. So this is what you're talking about. This is what I'm talking about. And truthfully, growing up, we saw healers before we saw a doctor. Very often. Amazing. What do you think the byproduct of that is? I mean, I know what it is because you and I have talked, but growing up and not going to the doctor first, going to a healer first, how does that wire you differently with your own family? If you look at a healer is going to look not just at the individual, he's going to look at the whole entire family. You know, when there is a disease, it's not just that particular individual. It comes from the whole family. It's very often you leak energy. You have something coming out of your body, but it's through a trauma, and we can talk about it a little bit. But it's not just one person. And when I have clients coming to see me, and we talk a lot about their own family, their mother, their father, or their grandparents, and so on and so forth. So we need to heal their entire family. Native Americans refer to it as holes. I read a book one time, and there was about the Cherokee tribe, and they refer to it as holes. She has holes, he has holes. It's exactly what you're talking about, leaking, right? And the thing about that, if we can impress anything upon anybody, is that when you are leaking, it is going to be impossible to ever fill you up. Yes. Well, so this is when we do actually soul retrieval. Yeah. When you have a trauma, so we have 2 types of trauma. It's either you have a trauma yourself, so it can be a physical, it can be emotional, it can be you've been sexually abused. And this is going to create a leakage of energy, and we have our soul coming out of our body, right? And in that case, you can retrieve that soul, but it's not only through a physical trauma. You can have an inherited trauma. That means generational. Exactly, yeah. A generational trauma that's being transmitted through epigenetics. And so in that case, you have not only to retrieve your soul, but also you have to cut the link with your family member that will give you that inheritance. So what is the purpose of retrieving the soul? What's the benefit of going out there and grabbing that soul and bringing it back to you? Well, so you feel whole. And when you said you will never feel that whole, yes, people do feel it with alcohol, with overeating, sure, or sometimes they have addiction. That can be video games.
That can be sexual addiction, which I see a lot now.
I'm sure.
And so on and so forth. So whatever it is, you are going to fill it up with something because something is missing.
Yeah, something is missing. And so we go grab the soul. We bring it back. And this is some of the work that you do.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're with folks and you've brought their soul back, because I've had this happen to me in a roundabout way when I did my retreat this past summer. What are their experiences like? Are they often incredibly moved?
They cry.
Yeah.
And cry and cry. Yes, absolutely. Because it's like seeing someone you haven't seen for a long time, seeing your child that you lost. Very often when you lose your soul, it's when you're very young. Again, through trauma. And so it's like having someone you haven't seen for a long time. So it's so moving and beautiful. And also what's beautiful about it is all of a sudden they feel whole. They feel whole. And very often within a week or two, I have them texting me or sending me a message that you're not going to believe it. I think I have found my soul mate. And I've been looking for someone for years. I was always with the same person who was never the right person for me and so on and so forth. So that's what's beautiful as well.
Because you moved space, you created space, you allowed this.
Yes, absolutely.
A chance for this to happen. Gosh, it's so powerful what you get to do.
Yeah, it's very, very powerful. But often people don't understand. They go through life and they said, I'm very successful. I have a wonderful family. I have kids. I think I'm very spiritual. I feel like I meditate. I eat well, and yet something is missing. I don't know what it is. And often people come to see me and they know something is missing and they don't know what it is, and they don't remember their trauma. They don't remember. It has happened when they were young, and we get to talk, and they said, I don't remember anything from 0 to 10. And that's when it's like, oh, okay, maybe something happened then. And then when we start digging a little bit deeper and we realize that there was a trauma. And again, the trauma can be as simple as my little sister was born or my little brother was born, and all of a sudden I am not the only child in the family.
That's it.
And that can be as little as that. When people say, well, I haven't lived through it, I haven't had any trauma. But it's what trauma means to you may not mean the same to me. If we are both in a car and we have a car accident, well, I thought maybe that was just a bump in the road, and then all of a sudden you are traumatized. You don't want to drive anymore. So every person is going to look at it in a different way.
And what's interesting, I came to learn, you could speak to this some more, but we all have a birthright, and this is a legitimate birthright, which is to be born from our mothers in a completely healthy, happy environment. And you think about things like, for me, when I was born with a club foot, right? And so within hours or whatever it is, there's surgery on my foot. My foot's in a cast. That was a birthright that was completely taken away from me. And it may not sound like a big deal, but they're marks and they matter along the way. And my son, actually, we had a really traumatic birth with him. We had a beautiful birth plan, but then he had other plans. He was flipped upside down. We ended up in an emergency C-section. And after I came to learn that bit about the birthright, I went to him and I talked to him, and we actually talked that whole episode through. And I kind of gave him permission to move on from it. He probably thought I was silly because he's 15 years old. But I did feel like it was an important cleansing that had to take place for him.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we have to understand that we pick our parents. They're here to teach us something. And sometimes we are born in a family and we don't really understand why. And if we don't understand it and if we don't heal it, we will marry it.
Yeah.
We will marry whatever we're supposed to heal.
Yeah, that's the truth. So why do you think it is then that, because ultimately we were making a choice every single day to hang on to the thing. I call it the story, right? Ultimately we're making a choice every day to hang on to the story until we choose to let it go. Yeah. So why do you, I would love to hear your thoughts on why you think people hang on to this stuff. I mean, I don't think the answer is too difficult, but I mean, what do you see?
they become their story.
Sure.
They want, they become victim. And it's easy. It's easy for them. And I mean, it's easy for them. It's not easy, but, that's what they know. And so they are addicted to feel guilty or to feel shame or to feel, whatever emotion that they have. They get addicted to that. They get addicted to the addiction, not necessarily anything else.
Yeah, let's talk about shame and guilt. You mentioned those two words, and that's another subject that I just am really, really interested in lately because I've come to learn a lot about the two. Guilt is the way that we feel about something. Shame is the way that we feel about ourselves. And I wonder if you would speak to what you know.
Absolutely. And that really takes me to what I see a lot with my clients. They come and they have the ailments that they have that I see. One of the main elements is gut issues.
Right.
And it's their lower stomach, and it's really their first, second, and third chakra. It's where your center of emotion, your lowest energy, lowest emotion will reside. Your shame, your guilt, apathy, fear, anger. This is where it resides. And when we take medicine to try to cure it, it's fine. It's going to make the symptoms go away, but it's never going to really heal you.
This makes a lot of sense to me. I'm reading a lot about the mind-body connection to the gut. And boy, if they aren't exactly the same, then I don't know what is. And I hope that people really attach themselves to that thought, that your mind and your gut are the same, because there's a lot of people. My God, I was just on the phone with somebody yesterday and they were like, so-and-so, my son. Yeah, this is what it was. This woman's son. She was like, yeah, he's got stomach issues all of a sudden. I got to bring him to the doctor. And when somebody tells me they have stomach issues, the first thing I'm thinking about now is, okay, what's going on in their life? Yeah. How stressed are they right now?
Exactly.
What are their environmental factors? What's happening to them in that state? We'll get to the other stuff because we have to rule that out too. But what is happening there first? And it's almost like what you were talking about. This is the thought process in France. It's not, there's something wrong, let's go fix it, and da-da-da-da. It's like, no, let's go figure out why this is happening. In Buddhism, which I studied for many years, they don't even have the word guilt in their vocabulary. The closest thing that a Buddhist would have is intelligent regret.
It's amazing how we are digesting our food, but we never learn to digest our emotion. And this is one of the things I do with my clients. I teach them how to digest their emotions, the good one and the bad one. When you have anger in you, and you meet someone and that person made you angry, and you said, okay, how does it make me feel? It's okay. This is not me. This is the other person. And then you learn to digest it so it doesn't stay in your lower chakra. And it's the same with any elevated emotion like gratitude or love. Maybe you left and your son, told you like, oh, I love you, Dad, or something like that. And you're like, okay, thanks, bye, and you're busy and you never took maybe a minute to think about it. But when you really spend the time, this is something that will feed you.
So how do we slow down enough to feel? Because that's ultimately what the world has become. Too busy to feel. We just go, and we need to be. So how am I going to slow down? Because I love the example you gave. Your kid says, I love you. And so many of us just hit back with, love you too, right?
Exactly.
When we move on. But what you're suggesting, if I'm picking this up right, is after that exchange, go sit in your car and for 30 seconds, think about how lucky you are to be loved by that little child.
Exactly.
And then go about your day.
Exactly.
That little celebration plants seeds for more good stuff, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's really true. But you know how it is. I mean, I don't know if you've ever been in a really depressed state yourself, but it's hard to unlock. It's hard to hear anything. Nothing makes sense. You're in such a funk. You just want to stay there. You feel like a burden to other people. At least that was my experience. That's how I felt. And it was like, you said something earlier that really resonated with me, where you said, you're seemingly smart. You seemingly have your stuff together. You do your meditation. You eat right. You da-da-da-da. But still something feels wrong.
Exactly.
And that's what it was for me. It was like, it was the 4 pillars that you mentioned up front. I didn't have them all filled up. And that's where I went wrong. So many, you'll hear about this a lot. And I'm not going after runners. I promise I'm not. I'm not even going after Ironmans and people who work out all the time. But there is a general consensus that if you are always running, that you're probably running from something, because they're just filling up the one bucket. And the other 3 that you mentioned are kind of off, right? I mean, am I making sense?
Yeah, well, that's funny you said that, because I was a marathon runner until I stopped, and I'm doing what I do. So I didn't, and you didn't know that. So
Is
that's
that
actually
true?
funny. Yes, that's actually very funny. So yeah.
Oh my God, I can't believe that. That's hilarious. So you ran marathons for how long?
Not for very long,
Okay.
and but I was a runner for.
Did you? Well, then this is a great time to talk about it. Do you feel like you were running from something?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably, yes.
Yeah.
Probably. But again, I think it's like anything else. We need to listen, and we need to listen to our body, but not only our body. Is what is our environment telling us? What are we hearing? What do you see today? What do you I told you I saw a bobcat yesterday.
Yeah.
What does it tell me?
Did you look that up? What does that mean?
Well, I didn't look it up, but I know the jaguar in shamanic work means being fearless. And so it's like, well, face your fears. And
look at you
we
doing
talked
it right
about
now.
it. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it was interesting, because that bobcat looked at me in the eyes, and it's like, oh, okay, I get you.
That's
I
super
understand
cool.
it. I understand.
That's really cool. I love those kinds of things. I was, the other day I was faced with a really challenging decision, and I went out and I thought I made a good decision. And all of a sudden I hear this hummingbird comes right in front of my face, between me and my phone.
Yes.
And then took off. Scared the shit out of me. But then I looked that up after, and hummingbirds are a sign of like, hey, good job. Like you're on the right track kind of.
Exactly.
It's so cool.
Exactly. Again, the hummingbird in shamanic work is going on with your journey. You are ready. The hummingbird is actually an interesting bird. It's somewhat fat for its, little wings.
Right.
And it's like, how is it even going anywhere? But the hummingbird never questioned itself. It never questioned like, oh, you know what? I'm too big for my wings. My wings are too small. No, the hummingbird goes and only drinks from the nectar. Only drinks from the best.
All the time.
All the time. Yes.
This is what animals have over humans. They don't think about what they're going to do that day. They just be the dog. They just be the hummingbird. Mm-hmm. They just be the cougar, the jag. They don't think about it. They don't get caught up in all of the what ifs, do they?
Exactly. Except, and I think we talked about that when we first met. We were talking about the rabbits in cage.
Yes.
And I told you I was born and raised on a farm. And I remember growing up, being a little girl, my mom would say, well, you have to feed the rabbits. And I would pick different, wild grass. And she would say, oh, be very careful, because some of the grass would make the rabbit die. And I said, well, but the rabbit would know, because the wild rabbits, they know what to eat. And she said, no, they are in a cage now, and they don't know anymore. And I feel that's exactly what we are. We have the ability to know what's good for us, how to feed ourselves, how to heal ourselves. And yet we've lost that. We have given away our power. We are becoming, somewhat victim. We just don't know how to heal ourselves anymore.
Yeah, I think what it is at the end of the day is that, because listen, this is what it was for me, right? Eventually you have to fall into a space where you love yourself enough to put healthy boundaries up around your world and care about yourself enough to do the right things. Mm-hmm. I think it's safe to say, and most people would agree, that if your mind isn't right, your life probably feels wrong. Mm-hmm. So how do you suggest we help people find their value? because once they find their value, then they will invest in themselves. That's the bridge that I think we have to gap is getting people, is telling that busy mom who's out there, who's running and going and doing all the things, like, hey, you matter enough to take 20 minutes every day for you. Like, we kind of need you to do that, actually.
Absolutely.
I mean, how do you convince somebody that, though, you know?
Absolutely. And I think we need to learn to rebalance our male and female energy.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
A lot of the moms, they are very busy. They are, I would say, working a lot on their male energy in a sense where, you know, they are the breadwinners. Some of them, you know, they have to take the kids to school. They have to do everything, you know, and so they are not working on their female energy, which is more nurturing for themselves. And that's where we get to have hormone disbalance. You know, their hormones are completely out of balance. They have more testosterone than they should have for the most part. And then they are more stressed. And so on and so forth. And it's the same with men. They need to balance their energy, their female and their male energy as well.
This is a great conversation. Let's stay in this lane for a couple of minutes because the world is shifting. The world is changing, right? And rightfully so, right? Everybody should have the same opportunities. Yeah. I don't think anybody would disagree on that. But you still have to honor your innate male, masculine, female energies.
Yeah, exactly.
What you just said is such a truth. There are tons of women who are really rolling up the ladder right now. And good, right? Rightfully so. About fucking time.
Yeah.
But you still have to take care of the female energy. And conversely, there's a lot of men, myself included, who have always felt a little bit more feminine and always fed a little bit more into that feminine energy. I've never been good with my masculine energy, but I need to balance that out.
Absolutely. Because if you don't balance your male energy, then your testosterone goes down.
That's right.
And for women, it's the same. Then you have more of the symptoms of menopause. We have probably, I don't even remember in my family, the women having any symptoms of menopause because they are very much in touch with their female energy, even though they are very strong women and they all work. But they allow the space to have that female energy.
So with regard to menopause, are there things that women can do to help themselves out in that space to alleviate some of their symptoms?
Yes, absolutely. Again, I think they are more in touch with their female energy. That's really the key. That's really the key. A lot of the women, and I'm sure a lot of them will listen, they come from work and they are so tired that they don't want to talk. They're like, I just want to go in my cave, because I've talked to my clients all day and so on and so forth. Well, what's happening is this has been more of the male energy when they come. Originally, they would come from work and they would go in their cave. And that would increase their testosterone. So what happens is a lot of the women, by just shutting down when they come back from work, that their testosterone is going up. And by doing that increasing their stress. It's not lowering their stress. They should really work more on their emotion and just tell their spouse, how they feel and work more on the emotion. Again, it's all about the emotions.
Yeah, you're so incredible. And there's so many things that you say that just, they speak to my heart and my soul. And one of the things that I want to ask you is, all right, let's just say that, and one of the reasons I started this podcast was I was fortunate enough to be in a position where I could go to a retreat and really unplug and get some serious work done on myself. I know that a lot of people feel like they can't do that. A lot of people think they are in a place where they can't go get help for themselves. So if this podcast is the only exposure they ever have to how do I work on my male energy? How do I work on my female energy? Is there anything that you can offer us that you have said to a client before on how they can go about balancing themselves more?
I think it's about taking the time for yourself. It's really about listening to your body. understanding your body is going to guide you. And again, when we have lower back issues and we're like, okay, I'm just going to see a doctor and get rid of that pain, we're not listening to what the body is telling us. And eventually, if we keep going and going and not stopping and healing ourselves, there's going to be a breaking point in any case. And you know that very well.
Very well.
So I'm sure you've had signals along the way, 10 years ago telling you like, slow down, stop, slow down, until you can't do it anymore. But if you actually listen to your body, and I keep saying the same thing, we need to listen to our body. What is it telling us? Why do I have migraines? Why do I have headaches?
Right.
Why am I not? Well, maybe there's something I don't want to see, so that's why I've got those headaches. Why am I having that gut pain? It's because why am I not digesting? I work with a lot of teenagers as well, and I see teenagers having some, issues such as throwing up all the time.
Right.
What is it that their parents are forcing them to do that they are rejecting?
Yes.
For example, their parents or even themselves, they make themselves doing, this is something that they don't want to do. Maybe they are doing a sport or something that they do not want to do. Yeah. And they are rejecting it.
So cool.
We have to really listen. Otherwise, we're taking the medicine to kind of keeping it inside, and eventually it's going to catch up with you.
Yeah, somebody told me along the way that the body gives you pain. The pain is a signal, so you'll do something about it. And but it's also our bodies and minds are brilliant, right? And our head doesn't want to work very hard. Our mind does not want this battle. Trust me, the mind does not want this battle. And so a lot of the times, the reason we get that back pain is so that, well, as long as I'm focused on my back pain, I don't have to think about my relationship with my wife or my husband or my spouse, correct, right? Yes. Mm-hmm. That's what's happening. That's why you keep getting the back pain. You're getting the pain so you'll do something about it.
Yeah.
Not mask it, not throw it to the side,
exactly,
not pop another pill, not have another muscle relaxer, so that you'll legitimately go and do the work on it. And if you can latch on to that thought, I'm really pretty sure your back pain is going to start to have a different story.
Exactly.
It's what happened to me.
The pain is a signal. And then if you think about it, there's not just the body, but also the place we live in. The house as well will tell you tons. Your car, your bike, whatever is important to you. And I think we need to listen to all of the signals around us as well. If you keep having the same problems in your house over and over and over, what is it telling you? How do you interpret that?
Yeah. As we get to a close, is there anything that you want to make sure you share with people today? Is there some experience you've had along the way that you feel like folks need to hear?
Yes, actually, I think what's important to understand is there is hope. There is absolutely hope. And that's what I love about my work. I see individuals coming and I don't look at them as sick. I look at them as wonderful human beings. And when they leave, they have hope. And that is so important. So absolutely important. And I try to do it in only a few sessions. To me, if you keep going to see the same healer or therapist, doctors, whatever it is, over and over and over and over, maybe that's not the right answer for you.
I would agree with that.
I want them to see the light at the end of the tunnel and not think like, okay, how long am I going to be seeing you for? Is that going to be a year or 2 or 3? But having an end, and sometimes I said to my clients, I said, we're done. Live your life. Go on with your journey. And they said, well, what do you mean? I said, we're done. Now you need to live your life. I've given you all the tools. It is for you to use them.
You're great about helping people understand that. And I go back to something we talked about in the beginning, which is eventually you have to want it for yourself. And eventually you have to want to get to work on it. You have to understand that it's probably having such an impact on your life that it's not healthy. And there's a lot of courage in raising your hand and saying, something's off. God, and I can't fix it myself. Mm-hmm. And somebody like you is a great, like an incredible first start. Really to help them unlock their truest potential. My last question is for you, kind of more personally. What has this work taught you about how you want to live your life?
It's such a great question.
With your kids, with your husband.
First of all, I've been blessed to have such a wonderful support from my husband, from my 2 daughters. It's been incredible. And it has been a journey. It really has been a journey. And I try to help them. They help me. They teach me so much.
That's it. That's cool. The way you answered that was you basically said, I don't know, they just teach me a bunch of stuff.
Exactly. That's exactly right. I think I will be forever a student.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll ever know, obviously never know everything, but I will always be a student of what I'm doing. Every day I'm like, oh my goodness, this is great. I can use this. I've learned this.
We have 3 goals with Learn from People Who Lived It. 1. To help you feel less alone. 2. Encourage you to seek out a coach, a therapist, a church, anyone who can help you get through your journey and find some healing. 3. When you're ready, share your story with us.
Hi, it's Tim.
And Beth from the Mulhausen Group Real Estate.
Thank you for listening to Learn from People Who Lived It.
You can find them online at tmgphoenix.com. Thank you so much for spending a little time with us. We're about to listen to the lead track off the new album from Blaine Long called Bacon. A quick reminder that asi-av.com, that's that audio-visual company I was telling you about. This woman-owned company has more than 2 decades of experience, and if you're on the IT staff and you've got your next build-out, please reach out to these folks. They work with schools, they work with corporations, they work with just about everybody, and they pay really close attention to that last 5%. Visit them online at asi-av.com. Okay, Blaine Long and Bacon off the new album, Royal.
She bit my heart, she didn't break it. Well, she took a big bite, said it tastes like bacon. Lips like Presley, moves like Elvis. You forget about your heart when she shakes her pelvis. Hey. Oh, we got nights to dream and wings to fly. Still young, but not tonight. I wouldn't have it any other way. We got gravy boats and mortgage payments. It's been so long since I've seen the rain. That's where I'll be when I die. Where I'll be when I die. We got nights to dream and wings to fly. We're still young, but not tonight. I wouldn't have it any other way.